Class is in session. I'm Professor Blowers. Let's learn business technology. Do you like music? When you're listening to Spotify or a CD or a vinyl, do you check out the art? Have you ever wanted to create vinyl album art or artwork for Spotify or for a local band perhaps? This project, New Music Artwork, will teach you how to create album artwork. So, we've been hired to create the artwork for a local band's new release. The final artwork is going to be used for an old school vinyl album sleeve because those are becoming popular again. So, we can also use these in CDs and other physical media and as the thumbnail on iTunes. They don't even call it iTunes anymore, do they? They just call it Music, Apple Music. I think I just dated myself. But you get the idea. The album art is typically a thumbnail on a computer, which is where many folks see it today. But we also want to make sure that it's high enough quality that we can print it. We might want to use this in advertisements or a variety of printed media such as newspapers, magazines, and so on. This project will incorporate various skills in Photoshop. You'll learn how to create a composite ad from multiple supplied images. You'll also learn how to composite multiple photographs using various techniques to select the focal object in each image. We'll also be incorporating graphics as rasterized layers and smart art layers. You'll learn how to move and transform layer content in relation to the page and to each other, while managing individual layout elements using layers and layer groups. Finally, we'll learn how to save versions of the file to meet different output requirements. So without any further ado, let's dive into the storm. Be careful, this storm might just sweep you away or get you shocked by lightning. Careful as you wait for the storm with high-handed thievery. I don't know what I do sometimes. I don't know why I do what I do sometimes. But I hope y'all are enjoying it. This is the site that we use in our class. It's called Against the Clock. So up here in our URL, type in againsttheclock.com to get to this website right here. First order of business, if you hover over sign in and then sign into your account, once you've signed into your account, you'll see my account right up here. And if you hover over it, you can see what's underneath my account. So the first thing we do is we click my account in files. And you'll notice as it waits, you'll see the clock going around clockwise. You may be asking yourself, why is this clock going clockwise when this site is called Against the Clock? And let me tell you, I'm still looking for an answer myself. I genuinely don't know. Hey, we made it. This is our course site. You're welcome to click around and check out all of the different resources and videos, the e-texts and assessments that are available in here. Have a look at all of these waffles here on our website. The first thing I'd like you to do is open up our e-text. That's this right over here. That's the Photoshop e-text or e-book, and that'll look a little bit like this. I've already navigated to page 25. That's the start of our first project, New Music Artwork. Now, if you click on the table of contents right over here, those are these 3 vertical lines right here. If you hover over each of these, it'll tell you what it is. So here's zoom in, here's search, here's to make it full screen. The top button will take you to the thumbnails, but you want to click on the table of contents, scroll down, and then click on New Music Artwork. That's the first project we'll work on. Let's do it. This first page will tell you what our project is going to entail. The second page will tell you which files we need for the project. So let's find the Music PS22 zip. There's a folder called Music. Specifically, there's a file called Sunrise is the one that we're working on. That's a JPEG. I'd like to show you how to download and extract our student data files for this. So go back to My Account and Files, and under My Student Files, look for Photoshop 2022. Go ahead and click that, and it's going to take a little bit for it to download. You'll notice that there's a zipper right there, and it says ATC _ 2022 Photoshop files. So have a look around while these files download and familiarize yourself with all of the different waffles that are here on Against the Clock. You'll also notice on Against the Clock, and as evidenced here on page 25, there's some videos that go along with our e-text. And they're really helpful and really fascinating, 1, to give you an introduction to the project, but 2, to teach you the skills that you'll need in the project. So As you're working on this and as you work through the stages, check out all the different videos and resources that are available to you on our course site. You have been hired to create the artwork for a local band's new collection release. Once the folder has finished downloading, click once onto the zipped folder. Let's enlarge this folder right here and look at the top where it says Extract. On the right-hand side, you'll see Extract All, and that will unzip the folder so you can get the files from within it. Now, let's click on Extract All, and that'll open up this window. Click Extract one more time, no. Once you've clicked Extract All, click Next, wait for it to download, and open this up. From in here, click on ATC 2022 Files, and look at that, more zip folders. Just what we wanted. Let's get more practice. So click once on the music folder. This is the one we'll work on. Look at the top and click Extract, that's pink. And then over here, let's extract all. I'd like you to keep it in the same folder. Click on Extract. That'll open this up. That's pretty familiar. Let's enlarge it. There's the music folder. There's no longer a zipper here. Excellent. Double click in here and count them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 files. We have an Illustrator logo, a Lightning JPEG, a Sunrise JPEG. That's what we'll be working on first. We have a title text, PSD, Photoshop document, and whoa, is that a tornado? It was a tornado. So let me show you how to open up Sunrise from within Photoshop. So let's take a deep dive into Photoshop, and here we are. Take a look around. Here's the interface. First, let's go ahead and click on File, and then Open or Control O. That's the shortcut, and I'm going to be teaching you shortcuts in this class. I put this in my Downloads folder. There's the unzipped folder. Click the unzip file, click on the unzip folder, click onto Music, which has been unzipped, and you'll notice Zipper, no zipper. Click on the one that doesn't have a zipper on, and then we'll click on Sunrise in here so that it's selected. Press Open or OK, and then we'll wait for it, and voila, here's our lovely Sunrise. Have a look around. That's great. Now remember, album artwork is a perfect square usually, because it'll be printed on a vinyl sleeve or a CD cover, which are all square. Notice how the image fills the screen, and we know which image we're working on by checking on the top left here. It says sunrise.jpg. Looks awesome. First, we need to resize this image. I'll show you a few different ways. Click on Image, and then Image Size, or Alt-Control-I, and that'll open up this dialog box. What you'll notice is our height and our width are set to about 68 inches, and they're linked, and Resample is checked on, so have a look around in here. Now, our resolution's a bit low, and so what the book wants us to do first is change the resolution to 300. Notice how it doesn't have a change in the height and the width with it linked when we change the resolution to 300. And what it does is it'll increase the file size and it'll add in pixels so you've got more resolution and your file will look more crisp and more clean, right? In other words, this maintains the same aspect ratio. If you hold down the Alt key, you'll notice it says Reset right here. So press Alt and click on Reset and we'll reset everything. Turn off Resample, please. Now watch what happens when we change the resolution to 300. It changes our height and our width. So if we increase the resolution, we decrease the height and the width when these are unlinked. Go ahead and click OK. Oh, before it's too late, let's save our work. Click on File, that's up here. Go down to Save As or Shift-Control-S. Now if you see this, click on Don't Show Again. Be sure to save it either to your computer, your OneDrive, or somewhere that you remember it. Be sure to name it CD-artwork and then your name. And what you want to do is change it to a .psd file. That's a Photoshop file. Click on Save. Now you'll notice at the top right there, you'll see the .psd at 25%. So we need to fit this into a 10 by 10 area so that we also have a bleed attached to it. We can't do the bleeding edge the same way as we do for Illustrator, and album art is a perfect square, so we're going to make it 10 by 10. So we're going to add an extra 1/8 of an inch on all of the sides. So check out your toolbox. That's our crop tool. You can press C to open it. This is called a bounding box, and you can click and drag from the corners to bound it as you see fit. If you click once, that'll activate the crop tool and give you some lines that are going to help you organize your file. So on this right handle over here, click and drag it in until the width is at about 10. You want to make sure that your width and your height are the same, and it's okay if it's not perfect. But let's go to 10.25 here. Same thing on the top. So we want it 10 by 10 with about 1/4 of an inch extra, so make it 10.25 on the height and the width. Keep in mind, we've yet to commit to the crop yet. It's still there. You can click on the center and move this around to place the person exactly where you want it. I'm gonna put the image off to the left side over here so that it meets that third. Up at the top, you need to make sure that delete cropped pixels is turned on before you accept the crop. Then press enter and voila, this is the foundation of your vinyl album. But we need to consider the bleed in the margins. Let me teach you a few methods. First, click on view, and then all the way down to the bottom, go ahead and click on guides. That'll open up more options. We'll open a new guide layout today. We're gonna set up some guides that we'll use for this project. I don't think columns look so good. Instead of columns, let's change it to margin. So deselect columns, click on margin. And then for top, left, bottom, and right, we want to change all of these. And this is where the 1/8 of an inch comes in. So type in 0.125, press tab, type in 0.125, press tab, type in 0.125 or 1/8 of an inch. And that's great. Now we have our bleed edge for our margin. Press OK, and there it is. You'll notice that blue line on the edge right there. Let's go to view, and then 100% or Control+1 to zoom into 100%, and you can see more details. Click on view and then go down to rulers or press Control+R so that we can make more accurate measurements in Photoshop. We want to add a margin that's 1/4 of an inch past those guides. So we need to reset our 0 point and drag in from the ruler. Right where the two rulers intersect at the 0 point up there, click and drag. And we're going to set this point right here. Let's actually place this right where the two guides meet and set it right here. Now let's click on the top ruler and drag down, down, down. Now we want this to say 0.25 inches right here, past that blue, right about there. Doesn't need to be exact, do your best though. Same thing from your horizontal ruler. Click and drag over, keep going, almost got it. You wanna make sure this is set to 1/4 of an inch or 0.25 inches. And that's just past your bleed edge. Double click on the corner where the two rulers meet. How about we zoom out? Press Control-0 or Control-. That's what you've just done. Looks great. All right, now that we're here, click on View. Now go to Guides, and we'll do a new guide. This is great. Let's place a horizontal guide at 9.875, and then press OK. And there it is, right there. Let's do that again. Click on View, go down to Guides, click on New Guide. This time let's do a vertical guide. Let's change the position of our vertical guide to 9.875. Everything looks great, press OK, and now we've got our corners sorted out. We've got our margins and our bleed edge, and we've got the base of our vinyl album. I'm going to show you different ways of bringing in images into our existing file. So, to get started on that, you know where to go. Click on File, scroll down to Open or Control-O, and these are the files that we'll be working with today. This time, click on Tornado. Whoa! Not in Kansas anymore, I'm in Photoshop. There's our tornado. You'll notice up at the top that the Tornado tab is active, and now the CD Artwork tab is active. So the tab that we're working on is bolded and slightly highlighted, and you can toggle back and forth. You can click off of a tab just like this, and you can have two images open at the same time. But let's put that back right there and get back on track. So we only want part of this tornado and then copy and paste it over there to our sunrise image. In order to do this, let's open up our rectangular marquee or press M. If you click and hold on your rectangular marquee tool, you can see everything that's nested underneath it. So if you can't see the tool, click and hold because there's more going on under the hood. And if you click and hold and look under, you can see what's underneath. If you hover over each of these tools, that'll give you a preview of what that tool does, as well as the shortcut, which is incredibly handy. Don't forget to add that to your notes, folks. So now we have the rectangular marquee selected. That looks great. Up at the top, have a look at these options and modes that we can use, right? So there's intersect with selection. We have a new selection mode, we have an add to selection mode, subtract from selection mode, as well as an intersect with selection mode. By default, we're going to be set in new selection. Keep your feather set to 0 pixels and your style set to normal. Now to select a certain area, all you need to do is from the corner, click and drag around, and you'll notice the width and the height. Hey, what are these dotted lines called? Well, they're marching ants. Did you know that? You can change up all sorts of different things by moving this around. I also want you to look at the rulers. As you move around the width and the height, you see a little marker, a little vertical white line. On the vertical ruler, you'll see a vertical line. On the horizontal ruler, you'll see a horizontal line. So all you have to do is click and drag. Now sometimes you might run into issues like this. How do we fix it? You tell me. Why did I run into this issue? What can I do to fix it? Your homework is to fix the marching ants. Before you open the rectangular marquee, there's a few things that I want you to do. Take a look around. Now before you select the rectangular marquee tool, I want to show you how to change our ruler. So all you need to do is hover over the vertical ruler, right click. You can change this to pixels, centimeters, right click. You can also do this on the vertical ruler. You can change it to millimeters, points, Pika. Has nothing to do with Pikachu, or does it? We also have percent. For this exercise, I'm going to ask you to continue to use inches. Then, with our rectangular marquee selection tool open, and press M if you've memorized the shortcut, go ahead and in the top left, click and drag. Notice the width and the height move around. And what are these? That's a marching ant. All of these around our rectangular marquee are marching ants. We want to make sure that our width and our height are set to about 20.5 inches. Remember, this is a perfect square. We're making a vinyl record or a CD cover, and that format is square. You can also think of iTunes or Spotify album art, but my marching ants decided to have a tough time. So you may run into issues like that. We'll click in the top left and drag around and what is that? Oh, let me tell you, these are marching ants. And this tells us that we have a rectangular marquee. So we can bring the height all the way down to the ground so that the height is set to 20, drag to the right until your width is at 20.5 inches. And there we go. Now we have our selection, and that looks great. The tornado looks good right there. We have the marching ants all around our selection. When you let go, it commits to that selection. Maybe we have too much selected, or we have too large of an image and we want to subtract from a selection. How do we do that? We'll look up at the top up here, and as I showed you before, this third option allows you to subtract from selection. So now, once you have subtract from selection open, let's create a marquee just like this. We want to shave off about 2 inches of height, and that'll subtract away from the top of the cloud. I think that's a bit redundant. And now everything that's inside of the marquee or the marching ants is what we have selected. Now click on Edit and go to Copy or Control-C, scoot on over to our CD artwork PSD document, click on Edit, Paste, or Control-V, and the tornado has taken over our lead singer. Great. Check out the Layers panel. Now we've got a background layer and layer 1 right next to it. You can turn off the eyeball by clicking it, and you can change your visibility. Let's move the tornado off this ways and create room for myself. I'm not in Kansas anymore. Oh, Toto. Since this is the first time we've saved a Photoshop file with layers, we want to make sure we maximize compatibility and click OK. Now it's saved. Whew, I was worried the tornado was going to blow the files away. Hey y'all, let's click on File and then Open, or click Control-O, and I just got struck by lightning. There it is, our lightning JPEG. Let's open that up. Control-0 to make it larger, and notice the new tab up at the top. We're going to add the lightning to the tornado to our artwork, close tornado. Now press L to open up our lasso tool and hover over it to see what it does. It looks like a cowboy's lasso, doesn't it? If you click and hold, there's other types of lassos. Magnetic lasso is the one we'll learn on the next lesson. There's a polygonal lasso, but today let's work with the lasso tool. Now let's switch back and make sure we're on new selection mode. Our feather is 0, and everything else on your screen matches my screen. With the lasso tool, all you need to do is click and drag around the lightning. Your selection is going to look different from my selection, and that's okay. Make this creative, but roughly follow the outline. Be careful around the edges of the page and select just the lightning bit. We'll go up and around and got a little too close to that. Make sure that we go around the bottom, but don't select that bottom border. On the right-hand side, that's okay. Let's do the border right here. Click and drag up to the top, all the way to the corner, and let's travel over this a ways until we complete our circle, and then we release it. Now we've got a full lasso, and we've got the marching ants. There's an ant, there's an ant, there's an ant. And that's our selection right there within the marching ants. By default, the selection that we have has a really hard edge. And you can change the feathering of this, but what you can do is enter a mask mode. So look at the very bottom right here. This is called quick mask mode. You can enter this by pressing Q. So if you click into quick mask mode, look at that. The red part is not selected, and what you see is what you do have selected. Click it one more time. I just wanted to show you that quick mask mode. How about we feather a little bit? Let's turn this lightning bolt into a bird. So click select, modify, and then feather or shift F6. Here's our feather selection options. So for our radius, let's make it 100 pixels and press OK. Awesome. Doesn't look like a whole lot happened, but I promise you it did. Let's go back into quick mask mode, press Q to open that up, and see the magic that we just created. Whoa, notice the edges. That's feathering, y'all. So Control plus to zoom in, and you can see the difference right there to see how it slowly fades from the lightning into the red, which is the non-selected bit. And when we copy this and put it onto our artwork, you'll see why we've done this. So let's go back to the regular mode, Control 0. Let's scoot this over here. Let's go up to Edit and Copy, and then Control C if you know the shortcut, and then go to Edit, Paste, or Control V if you know the shortcut, and let's paste this lightning. Ouch! I got shocked again, and I'm getting sucked up by a tornado. This file is a mess. Look at the layers over here. Let's turn off the eyeball for these and see how we can move our layers. And think of layers like a stack of papers. Whichever is on top is the one that is going to be seen first. Let's close the files we don't need, save up our file, and move on to the next one. Now what happens if we open up a vector file in Photoshop? Well, we can rasterize a vector file. Let's open up this file here, AI. Control O, open up the logo, which is an Adobe Illustrator file. Click on Open, and it needs to convert the vector format into a pixel format because it's Photoshop. Make sure it's cropped to the bounding box. Check out the other options. You need to make sure the resolution is at 300 pixels per inch, and it is. Looks great. Click OK, and we've imported it. Oh, another error. That's okay, don't worry about it. High-handed thievery. There it is. It has a checkerboard background, which is perfect. Notice your layer, and notice the tab. We want to move this onto our artwork. Let me show you how to open these both side by side. Click on Window, go down to Workspaces. Then click on Window and then Arrange, and then you'll want to click on 2 up vertical. There's the lightning bolt and there's the logo. We have them side by side for editing purposes. You can press Control 0 so you can see everything there. Let's open up our Move tool by pressing V. Click on the artwork on the left-hand side and drag it on the document to the right. Let go, and voila, high-handed thievery is stuck in the storm. We also have a layer over here that you can toggle on and off, and you'll notice that the checkerboards allow us to see through the document. Click on File, Save, or press Control S to make sure that we don't lose this. Another way that we can insert an image is to place it. Click on File, and then Place Embedded, and the last thing we need to add is the title text right here. That's a Photoshop document. And then click on Place. Now we have a bounding box around the artwork, and it may take a little time to progress, but we're waiting for the storm, y'all. Press Enter to accept it. Have a look at our Layers panel. This title text has its own layer and an icon on it. This icon right here says it's a Smart Object Layer, but the text is a bit of a mess. We're done with the first stage, so let's save it up. Click on File, Save, and we're on to stage 2. Now the document's a bit of a mess, so let's clean up our layers a bit. Let's move the Layers panel off so we can see everything. Hey, get out of the way. Notice the eyeballs to the left of the layer. If you press on Alt and then click one of the eyeballs, That'll isolate that layer specifically. Press Alt and then click around to see how this works to select just one layer. Let's select layer 1 and then double click layer 1, and I think we should call this tornado. Make sure your T is capitalized and then press enter. So again, press on Alt, double click on layer 2, and we're going to call layer 2 lightning. That's our lightning layer. Excellent. Looks like we need to rename layer 3 as well. What should we call that? Press Alt, click on the eyeball next to layer 3, double click into layer 3, and we'll call that logo. That's what that is. Sweet. Now we're a bit more organized. Now, if you press Alt and click again, you can see everything. The logo and the title text are basically the same thing, so let's learn how to group them. So if you hold Shift and click both of them, click on logo, press Shift and click on title text, and right down here, this folder will create a new group. Now we've got group 1. Double click group 1, and we're going to call this logo types. As such, press enter. Now if you click this little arrow or caret right here, you'll notice everything that is nested within it. How about we move and transform some of these layers? Get out of here, layers panel. Move over there. So with the move tool selected, up at the top, unselect auto select. Go ahead and select the title text layer, and you'll notice that waiting for the storm is hanging over the edge a little bit. So let's click and drag up to the top using the move tool and move it up to the top so it fits within our margins. Arr, what are you doing hanging off the edge like that? Let's fix this. We need to shrink this because it doesn't fit within our vinyl album. So to do this, let's go to Edit, and we have title text selected. Click on Edit and Free Transform or Control T. There's our bounding box, and from any of the corners, you can press Shift and drag in to proportionally decrease the size of this text. Looks excellent. You want to make sure that this fits within the rightmost margin right over here, just like that. Press Enter to make sure that it fits within our artwork. Now let's press Control T again, and we can get more specific with our transformations. So right up here is our transform control panel. We have a width and a height, but we also have an X and a Y position. All right, so let's make sure that we maintain the aspect ratio, and we can change the width to, let's say 65 even. It'll automatically change the height to 65, so it's proportional. That's because we pressed that lock button. Press the checkbox on the far right hand side to commit to that transform. It says you can also press enter, but the checkbox is there. And before it's too late, this is starting to look great. Hey, click on File, Save, or Control S if you know how to save some time, and let's move on. Let's transform regular layers, all right? Check out our Layers panel, press Alt, and click on the tornado eyeball so that we have that layer selected. Click it so we have it selected for sure. Open up the Move tool by pressing M, and we're gonna drag the tornado up. We wanna make sure the tornado fits the top portion of this right here. How about we flip the layer? I want the tornado over there. I don't like the tornado here. I want it over there. How am I gonna do it? Well, you got it. Edit, transform, and then flip horizontal. That'll flip it. Whoa, tornado's over there. Whew, I survived. Let's turn on the visibility. I can't see in the middle of this tornado. So let's open up the lightning layer, press Alt and click the eyeball over here. Bzz, ah. Again. Let's go to Edit and then Free Transform. And I left my tornado layer on accidentally, but don't worry about it. We want to transform the lightning. And so click on the lightning itself and drag it and move it around, and that's why I should have got rid of the tornado. What are you doing here, tornado? So, learn from my mistakes. Now I've selected the lightning layer, and I'm going to scoot it over there. I want you to check out the options bar too. So let's scale this. We're going to position this and scale it down. So please click on Edit, turn on Free Transform by pressing Control T, and we're gonna do kind of the same thing to transform this. We wanna make sure the top right edge of the lightning matches the top right of the document. Look up at our options up here. Click this. We wanna make sure our top right reference point is selected. Click this and click the top right reference point. Constrain your proportions. Then we wanna change this to 75%. You'll notice that when I change the width to 75, it'll automatically change the height to 75. Press Enter and that'll accept our transformation. It's a bit of a mess though. So go ahead and click on File and Save or Control S, and let's move along to the next bit. And it's okay if we have some mistakes in here. We can clean it up. Let's start making transformations for the background layer. That's a special layer. So check out the layers panel over here. Press Alt and click the eyeball on the background layer. Select your background layer. Notice this over here. You're locked. You're locked, but I don't know the combination. It tells us that if you try to flip or transform when it's locked or any of these, it's not going to work while it's locked. Well, I don't want that. Now there's another way we can do this. Click on Image, go down to Image Rotation, and then we're going to flip canvas horizontally, and there's your workaround. This will flip the image, which is what we want. The only problem with this is it flips all of the other layers, right? And so you think it's a solve, but as we select all of these, when you click title text, logo, lightning, it's going the other way. I can't read it. So we're gonna undo this. We can't flip horizontally with everything like this. Let's find another workaround, y'all. So I'm undoing, Control Z. Go to your layers panel, double click on the lock icon, and we're gonna unlock the background layer. It's gonna change it to layer 0. So it's no longer officially a background layer, and it's not locked. It'll be treated as a regular layer. I don't like layer 0. We're gonna change the name of this. So a good name for this would be Sunrise. I know we could have thought of something more creative. If you want to call this something different, go for it. With the sunrise layer selected, we can go to Edit, Transform, and now we can flip it horizontally. You can turn on the visibility for the other ones and check and test to make sure that that worked. So you tell me, did that work? Hey, I can read that. Go ahead and select the Move tool, select the logo layer, and then click and drag high-handed thievery down to the corner of our artwork so that they fit the margins as such. This is looking awesome. Let's click File Save or Control S. We're moving on to stage 3, y'all. Let's do some complex selection and fancier editing to each of the layers. So let's turn off the visibility for logo types and make sure sunrise layer is selected and visible as such. Sweet. So with the sunrise layer, we want to isolate our lead singer and make sure that their silhouette has been selected. I'm going to teach you about how to use layer masks. Let's open up the Quick Selection tool. Right under the lasso tool is the Quick Selection tool. It might be nested, but you can press W to open up the Quick Selection tool. And here's how it works with the ice cream. Now there's some contrast between the hair and the really light background. Let's start with this rock on the bottom corner over here. And as you click and kind of drag and scrub around, that'll automatically recognize the edges right here, right? It misses a few spots, but just like that, we've selected our lead singer, except for their hair and some of the sticks over that a ways. But we can fix that. It's not a perfect selection yet. Now this isn't a perfect selection. There's some wispiness around the hair, there's some contrast, as well as some sticks right down here that didn't get included in the selection. So we can edit the selection and make some changes. So we're gonna look up at our control panel up at the top, click on Select and Mask to create or refine a selection. This will open the mask editing mode, one of my favorites in Photoshop. Now this is a different kind of editor. On the right hand side are your properties, and we want to make sure that we're viewing this in onion skin mode. You can check out the other modes if you want, but we want to make sure we're set in onion skin. Our transparency is set to, well, you can move around the transparency, but we want to set it to 50 so we can see some of the background as well as the checkers. Press Control+, and let's have a closer look at our singer here to see what hasn't been selected. We want to be able to add on to the selection so it includes the hair and the sticks. On the left-hand side, press R to open up our Refine Brush tool. An error, don't worry about it. Here's our Refine Edge Brush tool, and here's our person right here. This tool works just like a paintbrush, so how about this? Let's change the size of the brush to 50 pixels. If there's a different size that works better for you, you can change the size of your brush. This will allow us to click around the hair to pick up all of the extra bits and pixels that we missed the first go around. So if you click and drag around the hair, it'll pick up all of these extra bits and edges. So look at that, the hair's coming into focus, and you're not selecting like a lasso, you're just clicking, and I'm gonna zoom in to make sure I get all the little wispy bits of the hair, right? So click, drag, and you'll notice how it brings up all of these other pixels to be included in our selection here. So there's a bit of hair right over here that curls up. Try to get as many details as you can to make sure that this file is as professional as we can. Now, if you want to make some creative edits, go for it. But I want to make sure that these sticks are in focus. So same thing, just click around, and I think that we probably need a larger brush for this. By clicking and dragging, you'll pick up a lot of different details. Photoshop does a great job automatically recognizing the areas that we want selected and the areas that are not meant to be selected. So once you're satisfied, and I'm not gonna spend forever on this because I think that is fine and dandy, you can press Ctrl-0 and there's different ways you can refine your edge. So if you go over here in your properties, you can play around with the radius on edge detection as well as the smoothness and the feathering to make your selection personalized. Genuinely, I think this looks pretty great. You're welcome to make any sort of creative changes that you want. Open output settings and then output to a layer mask. Then you'll press OK and that'll mask off the background. Voila! This just leaves the figure that we have so we can have something different in the background. Whoa, check out our layers panel. That opens up this icon right here that tells us that it's a layer mask. That's the thumbnail right there. Everything that is black is transparent and everything that is white is opaque and visible. You can undo any changes while working in a layer mask, which is really handy. So over on the layer mask over here, press Alt and click on the layer mask to see these two different modes. Now if you right click over here and you disable the layer mask, you can check out all of this. And you can see I didn't do a great job, but that's all right. You can show me how to fix it. Now click on Apply Layer Mask to get rid of the background. Usually in Photoshop, you want to work non-destructively and preserve as many pixels as possible. So I was pretty destructive here. So let's do this again. So notice the X right there. Right click over the layer mask there and then enable the layer mask. So we're back to square one. So now we've had a chance to try out some things. Let's press Ctrl S to save. Layer masks are an alpha channel or a transparency channel. So let's open up our channels panel. Now you see the sunrise mask over here. Turn on the visibility for the sunrise mask and it'll indicate the channel visibility. And now we've got a bit of a pink or red mask in the background. Curious. Double click on the sunrise mask to open up your options. Let's change the opacity to 100% to make this a solid red color. And you can further edit and refine your mask. Let me show you how. So you actually can fix this by painting over it. So over in the toolbox, let's open up our brush tool or press B. Up at the top, let's change the size of our brush to 50. And we want our hardness to be 100%. So have a look at our fill color. The topmost swatch is our foreground color, and this is our background color. So our foreground's set to black and the background is set to white. So as you click right over here, you can add on to the mask or paint on to the mask, and you can personalize it and take away parts that you don't need. So click and drag to take out some more of the background. So all you need to do is click and drag around and paint, paint, paint. Now if this is taking too long, you can just make a larger brush and fill it in right there. So 67 is what I thought would be big enough. I probably should have gone a little larger, but I don't need this, so I'm painting it in red and I've got rid of it. Sweet, you're out of there. Click on File and Save, because that was a lot of work. Another way to do this is by using our Properties panel. If you go back to your channels, double click into the sunrise mask, and let's bring the opacity back down. Let's change the opacity to 50%, press OK. Whew, back to normal. If you don't need it, just click on the eyeball. Let's get it out of here. So make sure that the sunrise layer is selected, and then look up at the top. Click on Window and then Properties, and look at all your different options up here when you have sunrise selected. Now there's an icon for this mask, and you can change the density, you can change the feathering, and this is the property of our mask right here, all right? So let's change our feathering to 25. If you want to make a change to that, that's fine. And just like before, as we zoom in, we have a nice soft edge on the shoulder and silhouette of our lead singer. As I zoom in, I think that's a bit too much feathering, so why don't we turn down the feather to maybe 1%? As we zoom in, there's really good contrast now with a little bit of feathering, and I keep running into this error message. Let's turn on our tornado layer. Let's turn on our tornado and lightning layer. So remember, layers are like a stack of papers. So as we select the sunrise layer and put it on top of the lightning layer, voila, now as you turn on visibility, you'll notice that this layer is on top of the other ones. Turn on everything so you can see everything we're working with. I see a few issues here, but at the bottom left-hand corner, we don't want that. It's transparent, so we're gonna have to move some things around. I also notice my lightning layer needs some work. So if you know how to fix it, go for it, or follow along with me. Select your tornado layer, press Control T to open up Free Transform, and you can move this around. Now it's not easy. You'll notice me struggling, and that's all right to make mistakes. We learn from that. Whoa, what am I doing here? Whew, I'm stuck. All right, I made a mistake. It's cool. We can Control Z. And in life, when we run into mistakes, we learn from it. Now remember, we're still having this issue of this transparency right over here, and my lightning layer really needs to be increased in size. Select our tornado layer, press Control T to free transform, press Shift, click, and drag, and you might need to make a little bit of room, but Shift, click, and drag to get rid of this transparent bit. And oh, that created a problem and that created a problem. What did I do wrong? You tell me, how do I fix it? Now, you can move this around. You'll notice the bounding box. I could then increase the size over here. That's one way about it. I press Control Z, and I've learned how to fix my mistakes. So, here's one way to do it. The tornado layer is just not large enough to be seen. Select Tornado, press Control T to transform, and again, we're gonna hold Shift, and we're gonna click and drag down so we increase the size, and there we go. Almost, and you'll notice as you move it around, you'll get more transparent bits, and it'll help you understand the stacking of all the different layers. But now there's no more transparent bits. Press Enter, and that looks better. I need to fix the lightning. The lightning is a bit too stark, so let's drop its opacity so I don't get shocked so much. Click on the lightning layer, check out the opacity, and you can change the opacity to something that works for you. For this layer, why don't we turn the opacity down to say 35? Now, the main cover of this artwork has been completed, and in the next stage, we're going to learn how to save it as multiple file types so you can distribute it in different ways and have different sizes in case you're restricted by file upload types and sizes. So Control T and then move your lightning layer around, and I'm gonna scoot it around a little bit and personalize it. At this point, you can personalize anything. Move around the background, you can make it neon, you can add a style or an effect or a filter. So now we're on to stage 4. I hope you finish personalizing it, because now we're gonna save it as different file types. And this means we're almost done, y'all. We almost did it. Let's save these files for multiple media. Do you know what a TIFF is? Do you know what a TIFF is? Well, we're gonna learn. So click on File and Save As, and Control Shift S, and I forgot to accept my transformation, so press 0 to make sure that that's sorted. Let's save as again. For the file name, make sure that you add album in here, and as a save as type, we're gonna change this to a TIFF. What does that stand for? Can you tell me? TIFF is uncompressed and incredibly high quality. We wanna make sure that we uncheck the layers, but there's some things that are missing here, and there is a difference between a Mac and a PC, and you might need to improvise here. So we're gonna learn to save as a copy, and yours might look a little different than mine. Ultimately, I just wanna see your Photoshop file to see how you got to the end of this work. So I couldn't figure this out. I clicked Save, but I wanna show you the TIFF options in here. We're gonna make sure image compression is set to none. We have the pixel order is interleaved, and the byte order is IBM. The book wants you to discard layers and save a copy. It disabled me, and I just powered through. So if you're able to, go ahead and discard layers and save a copy. If you know where I made a mistake on that, please help me solve it, and we'll fix this. But for now, let's just go ahead and press OK. Looks fine to me, and there's our first version saved. The final stage allows us to save these files as different types for different distributions. So, do you know what a TIFF is? You know what a JPEG is? What's a PSD? Control Shift S to save as, and make sure that you include album in the file name, as well as your name, and my name's Professor. We'll save it as a TIFF, that's great. Click on Save a Copy. These are all the different things that we can save it as. And so we have the option to save or not save layers. So uncheck layers, because it wasn't available in the previous screen, and you're gonna leave everything else as is. We'll keep it to the default, save for unchecking layers. Do I want to replace it? It already exists? Yeah, I made a mistake on that previous one. Here's our TIFF options. And I don't think we need to make any changes. So if you're able to discard layers and save a copy, go for it. The issue here is because I already am saving a copy and I deselected layers. So if you don't know how to do something or if you run into an issue, be a problem solver. Use your resources and learn from it. Now we have one version saved, but let's try out a different one. Maybe we need to upload this to Teams or attach it to an email, but the file size is too large. Go ahead and click Image and then Image Size and check that out. Let's change the height to be 5 inches, and since they're linked, it should be the same, and if it's slightly different, that's okay, that's pretty close. And then press OK. We've changed our image size. That's going to scale down our artwork. So small there in the corner. Now we have a new problem. Well, now our margins and our bleeds are off. How do we fix that? I'll show you how to fix it. Please click on View, then Guides, then New Guide Layout. Excellent. So at the very bottom, we've got margins selected, and it is 1/8 of an inch. That's great. Let's save this new guide layout, and now we have our bleeds back. So let's do this again. Go to View, down to Guides, over to New Guide Layout. Looks great. And so we've got margins selected, and you can make changes in here. Let's change this to 1/4 of an inch from 1/8 inch, and then press OK. And we're back. I was worried about that. Go ahead and select the Move tool by pressing V and turn on Auto Select. And I'm realizing I was saying press M for the Move tool this whole video. It's V for the Move tool. We want to make sure that Auto Select is selected, and what it'll do is when you're hovering over a specific layer here in your album art, it'll automatically select whichever layer you're hovering over. All right, but let's make sure that we select our title text layer, press Ctrl T to free transform, and we can move it around so that our margins and our bleeds are set correctly. So if you need to resize it, press Shift and click and drag in or out depending on the size of your album art. Press Enter. We've locked that in. It looks great. It meets our margins. Sweet. So now in the bottom right-hand corner, Control plus, press spacebar to move around, spacebar to move around. High-handed thievery. What are we going to do with this? Select the logo layer, move it around so that the right edge and the bottom edge meet our bleed margin. Now we need to think of what we're going to call it. At this point, I think that you should say Insert, so CD, Artwork, Insert, then your name, and then save it. Please click File, and then Save As. Click on your computer, and we're going to save this one as a TIFF again. Looks great. Do we want to save a copy? Let's do it. So now that we're in here, deselect layers, we don't need those, and keep everything else set to the default. TIFF options, more to do. All right, well, everything looks fine. Press OK from here. Now, it's really important that we had this saved before. Now, the book wants you to revert, but I need you to tell me why I'm unable to revert by pressing F12 right now. I'm giving you more homework. What did I do wrong? Now, it was important that we save this at the beginning before we started, because now we're going to revert back to where we were working before. So, I want to show you how to do this. If you click on File, and then down to Revert, or press F12, that'll change by lightning and bring it back to its larger size. So that's probably the best way to undo this. For digital media, a JPEG is going to be the most handy. So why don't we go to Image, and then down to Image Size, or Alt-Control-I. This time, let's change it to pixels from inches. So over here, click and select pixels. The book wants us to change the width to 3000. If your width and your height is slightly off, that's okay. Don't sweat it this time. Press OK. Great, now we have a JPEG. It'll resize it to the digital size that you want. Now that it's done, we'll click on File. We'll go down to Save As, or Shift-Control-S as you know by now. Solid. Add digital to the file name. Then I'd like you to change this to a, where's JPEG? Let's save a copy. It's got to be in here. So go ahead. There it is, a JPEG.jpg. We have our JPEG options right here. So look around. You can change your matte, your quality. Now here's a way that you can change your image quality to high. With the slider, you can toggle high quality versus low quality. So now, to make sure that this worked, let's open up the folder that has all of our files. and check it. There's the TIFF, there's the TIFF copy, there's my Photoshop document, everything else, and sweet. The book will tell you to turn in all 3 of these files. What I'm interested in is your Photoshop document and to see how you worked with the layers. If you want to print this, go for it. If you want to create your own CD artwork, I would love to see that. What kind of music are you making? What type of art are you into? I'd love to see that. I'm Professor Blowers. Class is dismissed. Thanks for learning Photoshop with us. And just like that, you are ready to go into the music industry to create thumbnails for Spotify, vinyl sleeves, CD artwork, and I can't wait to see what you do in the future with this project. Now, I gotta get out of here. I waited too long for the storm. Oh, no, 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 no. I waited too long for the storm. I ended thievery.